Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The fluorescent lights flicker above me as I pace the length of my office, phone clutched tightly in hand. I can't shake the feeling that's been gnawing at my gut for weeks now. Something's wrong, terribly wrong, but I can't quite put my finger on it. James, are you even listening to me? The voice on the other end of the line snaps me out of my thoughts. Yeah, sorry, Bill, I reply, trying to refocus on the conversation. What were you saying? I was asking if you got the projections ready for the meeting tomorrow, Bill repeats, a hint of impatience in his voice. Yeah, they're ready. I'll email them over in a few minutes, I say, forcing a smile that he can't see. Good. You know how she gets if we're not prepared. Yeah, I know, I mutter, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. She, my boss, my wife, Sarah. The woman I've loved for the past 10 years, the woman I thought I knew inside out, the woman who has been acting strange lately. Too strange. James, you still there? Yeah, I'm here, I reply quickly. I'll send those over right away. All right. And, James? Yeah. Take it easy, man. You sound off. I'm fine, I lie, before ending the call. I sit down at my desk and stare at the screen, the projections staring back at me like a puzzle I can't solve. Sarah has always been driven, ambitious, the kind of woman who commands a room and doesn't take no for an answer. It's one of the reasons I fell for her. But lately, her ambition has felt like something else. Something darker. I run a hand through my hair and pull up the email to Bill, attaching the files. Just as I'm about to hit send, my office door creaks open, and Sarah walks in, her heels clicking against the tile floor with a confidence I once admired. Hey, she says, her voice smooth and casual, but there's a tension in her eyes that she can't quite hide. Hey, I reply, trying to sound normal, but my heart is racing. What's up? She leans against the doorframe, her arms crossed over her chest, the same way she does when she's about to deliver bad news. I need you to go on a trip, she says, not meeting my eyes. A trip? I repeat, my stomach tightening. Where to? Los Angeles, she says, finally looking at me. We've got a new client out there, and I need you to close the deal. I frown. That's usually not my department. Why me? Because you're the best negotiator we have, she says, her smile a little too bright, a little too forced. Sarah, what's going on? I ask, standing up and walking toward her. You've been off lately. I'm fine, James, she says quickly, turning her back to me and walking over to my desk, fiddling with the papers on it. It's just work. You know how it is. Do I? I ask, stepping closer to her, trying to catch her eye, but she keeps her back to me. James, please, she says, her voice softer now, almost pleading. Just do this for me, okay? Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. This isn't the Sarah I know. The Sarah I know doesn't ask, she demands. She doesn't plead, she commands. Okay, I say finally, though every fiber of my being is screaming at me to push, to dig, to find out what's really going on. I'll go. She turns to me then, her smile returning, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Thank you, she says, walking over and kissing me on the cheek. It's a cold kiss, a distant kiss, and it sends a chill down my spine. When do I leave? I ask, pulling away slightly. Tomorrow morning, she replies, heading for the door. I've already booked your flight. Of course you have, I mutter under my breath, but she doesn't hear me. She's already gone, the door clicking shut behind her. I stand there for a long moment, staring at the closed door, my mind racing. Something isn't right, and I need to find out what. The flight to Los Angeles is uneventful, and the meeting with the client goes smoothly. Too smoothly. It's almost as if they were expecting me, like they knew I would be the one to come and close the deal. It feels off, scripted, and I can't shake the feeling that this whole trip is a setup. I return to the hotel that night, exhausted and restless. I can't sleep, my mind spinning with questions and doubts. I keep replaying Sarah's words in my head, the way she looked at me, the way she avoided my gaze. Something is wrong, but I can't figure out what. The next morning, I'm scheduled to fly back home, but an overwhelming sense of urgency grips me. I need to go back. Now. I change my flight to an earlier one, driven by a feeling I can't explain, something primal, something desperate. I land back home in the evening, my heart pounding as I drive through the city streets, the familiar landmarks passing by in a blur. I don't call Sarah to tell her I'm back early. I don't call anyone. I just drive, the sense of dread growing stronger with every mile. When I finally pull into our driveway, the house is dark, except for a single light in the living room. I step out of the car, my hands shaking, my heart racing. I don't know what I'm expecting to find, but the fear is there, gnawing at me. I open the front door slowly, quietly, and step inside. The sound of laughter reaches my ears, and it's like a dagger to my chest. It's her laughter, mixed with a deeper, unfamiliar voice. I move through the hallway, each step heavy with dread, and peer into the living room. There they are. Sarah and a man I don't recognize, sitting close together on the couch, their bodies entwined, their faces inches apart. My breath catches in my throat, and I feel like the ground has been ripped out from under me. I can't move, can't speak, can't think. I just stand there, watching as my world crumbles around me. Sarah sees me first, her eyes widening in shock and fear. The man follows her gaze, and his expression quickly shifts from confusion to guilt. James. I can explain, Sarah stammers, pulling away from the man, but the damage is done. No, I say, my voice hollow, dead. You don't need to explain anything. The man stands up, awkward and unsure, but I barely register his presence. My eyes are locked on Sarah, the woman I thought I knew, the woman I thought I loved. Get out, I say, my voice cold, controlled, even though my insides are screaming. James, please. I said get out. I shout, the sound echoing through the house. The man doesn't hesitate. He grabs his coat and bolts for the door, leaving me alone with Sarah, the silence between us thick and suffocating. She takes a step toward me, her eyes pleading, but I hold up a hand, stopping her in her tracks. It's over, I say, my voice barely above a whisper, but the finality of it is undeniable. James, please, we can. It's over, I repeat, turning my back to her, walking away from the life I thought I had. As I leave the house, the cold night air hits me, and I feel like I'm waking up from a nightmare. But this isn't a nightmare. This is reality. My reality. And now, I'm going to make sure Sarah pays for what she's done. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and I'm about to serve it with a vengeance. I walk out into the cold night, the frigid air biting at my skin, but it's nothing compared to the icy rage boiling inside me. My thoughts are a whirlwind, crashing into each other, leaving me breathless and dazed. How did I miss this? How did I let it get this far? The street is empty, the only sound the faint hum of distant traffic. I can't stay here, not now. I start walking, not sure where I'm going, just needing to move, to clear my head. My feet carry me through the familiar neighborhood, past houses where the lights are still on, families sitting down to dinner, their lives untouched by the kind of betrayal that's torn mine apart. My phone buzzes in my pocket, and I pull it out, half expecting it to be Sarah, but it's Bill. I hesitate for a moment, then answer. James, where the hell are you? Bill's voice is tense, on edge. You're supposed to be on a flight back from LA, and now you're not answering your phone. I'm back, I say, my voice flat. What? You're back. Why didn't you tell anyone? I didn't think it mattered, I reply, the anger creeping into my voice. But it looks like I came home just in time. There's a pause on the other end of the line. What do you mean? I take a deep breath, the words heavy on my tongue. I walked in on Sarah, with another man. Jesus, James, Bill breathes, the shock evident in his voice. Are you serious? Yeah, I say, the word almost a growl. I'm dead serious. Where are you now? Are you okay? Okay. I let out a bitter laugh. I don't even know what that means anymore. Listen, Bill says, his tone shifting to something more urgent. You need to come over. We need to talk about this. I hesitate, but the thought of going back to that house, of facing Sarah again, is too much. Yeah, okay. I'll be there in a few minutes. Bill's place is only a few blocks away, a small apartment on the edge of town. I've been there countless times, but tonight it feels different, like I'm stepping into a new reality, one where everything I thought I knew is a lie. I knock on the door, and Bill answers almost immediately, his face a mask of concern. He's still in his work clothes, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, but there's a tension in his posture that wasn't there before. Come in, he says, stepping aside to let me pass. The apartment is warm, the familiar scent of coffee lingering in the air. I drop onto the couch, feeling like my legs might give out if I stay standing any longer. Bill sits across from me, leaning forward, his hands clasped together. Tell me what happened, he says quietly. I recount the events in a detached, almost robotic tone, the words spilling out of me like they belong to someone else. Bill listens, his expression shifting from shock to anger to something that looks almost like pity. I can't believe she'd do this to you, he says when I'm finished, his voice low and angry. I mean, Sarah. I always thought you two were solid. So did I say, the bitterness creeping back into my voice. But apparently, I was wrong. Bill leans back, rubbing a hand over his face. What are you going to do? I stare at the floor, my mind racing. I don't know. I can't just let this go, Bill. She's made a fool out of me. You can't just go back there and pretend everything's okay, he agrees. But whatever you do, you need to think it through. Don't do something you'll regret. I know, I mutter, but the truth is, I'm not sure what I'm capable of right now. The rage is burning so hot inside me, it's hard to think clearly. Before either of us can say anything else, the doorbell rings. Bill frowns, glancing at me before getting up to answer it. Who is it? I ask, the tension in my chest tightening. Bill opens the door to reveal Dan, another coworker and mutual friend. He's holding a six-pack of beer and grinning, but the smile fades as soon as he sees the look on our faces. What's going on? Dan asks, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. Did I miss something? James just found out Sarah's been cheating on him, Bill says bluntly, not bothering to sugarcoat it. Dan's eyes widen, and he sets the beer down on the table, shaking his head. No way. Sarah. Are you serious? Unfortunately, yes, I say, my voice tight. Dan sits down next to me, the shock still evident on his face. Man, I'm so sorry. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, I admit. But I'm not just going to let this slide. You shouldn't, Dan agrees, anger flashing in his eyes. She deserves whatever's coming to her. The three of us sit in silence for a while, the weight of the situation settling over us like a dark cloud. I can feel the wheels turning in my head, the pieces of a plan starting to come together, but it's still hazy, unfocused. Then Bill speaks up again, his voice cautious. James, I don't want to overstep, but do you think it's possible that this wasn't the first time? The question hangs in the air, heavy and ominous. I hadn't considered that, hadn't wanted to, but now that it's out there, it's like a dam breaking inside me. If she could do this once, why not before? How long has this been going on behind my back? I don't know, I say finally, my voice hollow. But I'm going to find out. What are you thinking? Dan asks, his tone both curious and concerned. I'm thinking, I say slowly, the words forming as I speak them, that I need to start looking into her more closely. Her phone, her emails, everything. There's got to be something there, some kind of trail. Bill and Dan exchange a glance, and Bill nods. We can help you with that. We'll keep it quiet, make sure she doesn't suspect anything. I appreciate that, I say, grateful for their support, even as my mind is racing ahead, already planning my next moves. The rest of the night passes in a blur of conversation and planning. We talk about how to access Sarah's phone without her knowing, about finding out who the guy was that I saw with her, about making sure we cover our tracks. It's like we're planning a heist, but instead of stealing something, I'm looking to take back control of my life. As the hours tick by, the plan becomes more solid, more real. Bill and Dan are with me every step of the way, their support giving me the strength to move forward, to face what's coming. Finally, as the first light of dawn begins to creep through the windows, we wrap things up. Dan heads home, promising to be in touch, while Bill walks me to the door. Are you sure you're okay? Bill asks, his concern etched on his face. I'm fine, I say, though we both know it's a lie. I've got this. Just, don't do anything rash, okay? We're in this together. I nod, but the truth is, I'm not sure what I'm capable of anymore. All I know is that things will never be the same again, and I'm not going to sit back and let Sarah get away with what she's done. As I step out into the early morning light, the cool air washing over me, I know that this is just the beginning. The real battle is yet to come, and I'm ready to fight it with everything I have. I get into my car and start driving, the city waking up around me, but I'm barely aware of it. My mind is already miles ahead, plotting, scheming, planning my next move. Sarah doesn't know it yet, but she's made a powerful enemy. And I'm going to make sure she regrets every single second of her betrayal. I pull into the driveway of our house, the one Sarah and I bought together 5 years ago, the one that's supposed to be filled with love, trust, and all those things people like to throw into wedding vows. Now, it feels like a prison, a beautiful, suburban prison that traps me in memories I want to forget. As I step out of the car, the morning sun is creeping over the horizon, casting long shadows on the dewy grass. I stand there for a moment, taking in the sight of our home. No, not our home anymore. Just a house. Just bricks and mortar holding secrets and lies. I walk up the front steps, my mind racing. The plan Bill, Dan, and I devised is simple but dangerous. There's no turning back once I start. But I'm beyond the point of no return. I need to know everything. I unlock the front door quietly, slipping inside as if I'm entering enemy territory. The house is eerily quiet, and the silence amplifies the sound of my heart pounding in my chest. Sarah is still asleep, or pretending to be. I head to the kitchen, my steps deliberately soft, and pour myself a glass of water, trying to calm the nerves jangling in my system. I need to act normal, but the rage is bubbling just below the surface, threatening to explode. I take a deep breath, reminding myself that the key to this is patience. I need to play the long game. I hear footsteps on the stairs, light and hesitant. Sarah appears in the doorway, wearing one of my old t-shirts, her hair messy from sleep. She looks vulnerable, almost innocent, but I know better now. James? Her voice is soft, unsure. You're back early. Yeah, I say, turning to face her, forcing a smile. Meeting wrapped up quicker than expected. She hesitates, as if sensing something off, but then she walks over and wraps her arms around me, pressing her face into my chest. The familiar scent of her shampoo hits me, stirring memories of better times, but I push them away. This isn't the same woman I married. I'm glad you're back, she murmurs, her voice muffled against my shirt. I don't say anything, just stroke her hair, my mind already on the next step. I need access to her phone, her laptop, everything. But I can't just grab them, she'd know something was up. You seem tense, she says, pulling back to look at me. Her eyes are searching mine, looking for something. Maybe guilt. Suspicion. Just work, I lie, forcing a tired sigh. It's been a long couple of days. She nods, buying it. Why don't you go take a shower? I'll make us some breakfast. I nod, grateful for the excuse to be alone for a few minutes. As I head upstairs, I can feel her eyes on me, and I wonder if she's seeing the same man she married. The thought stings, but I push it aside. I can't afford to think like that now. In the shower, I let the hot water wash over me, trying to cleanse the anger and hurt swirling inside. But no matter how hard I scrub, it won't go away. I'm stuck with it, and I'll be stuck with it until I get my revenge. When I come back downstairs, Sarah is in the kitchen, humming to herself as she flips pancakes. For a moment, it almost feels like nothing has changed, like this is just another lazy Saturday morning. But then I remember the man on our couch, and the illusion shatters. Smells good, I say, forcing myself to sound normal. She glances over her shoulder and smiles. I thought you might be hungry. Starving, I reply, though the thought of eating makes me nauseous. I sit down at the table, watching her move around the kitchen, acting like the perfect wife. She's good at this, too good. It makes me wonder how long she's been playing this game, hiding this side of herself from me. How many times have I been the fool, blissfully unaware while she did God knows what behind my back? She sets a plate in front of me, the pancakes golden and fluffy, just the way I like them. I dig in, forcing myself to eat, the food turning to ash in my mouth. Sarah sits across from me, her own plate untouched as she watches me. You're really quiet this morning, she says, her voice laced with concern. Is something bothering you? I look up, meeting her gaze, and for a split second, I consider telling her everything, how I know, how I'm planning to destroy her life the way she destroyed mine. But I don't. Instead, I force a smile and shake my head. Just tired, I say. Like I said, it's been a long couple of days. She nods, but I can see the doubt in her eyes. She's starting to sense that something's wrong. I need to act fast. I'm going to check some emails, I say, pushing my chair back and standing up. Okay, she says, watching me closely. I'll clean up here. I head to my office, closing the door behind me. My hands are shaking as I pull out my phone and text Bill. I'm in. Need the spyware ASAP. Bill's response is almost immediate. Bill, on it. Check your email in 5 minutes. I sit down at my desk, staring at the screen, willing myself to stay calm. This is it. Once I install the spyware on her phone and laptop, I'll have access to everything: texts, emails, calls, social media. I'll be able to see the truth, no matter how ugly it is. A few minutes later, the email from Bill arrives. I download the files and transfer them to a flash drive, my heart pounding in my chest. This is the point of no return. I take a deep breath and stand up, slipping the flash drive into my pocket. The house is quiet as I walk down the hallway to the master bedroom. I can hear Sarah in the kitchen, still cleaning up from breakfast. I need to be quick. I find her phone on the nightstand, right where she always leaves it. My hands are steady as I connect the flash drive to her laptop, which is already open, her last email still on the screen. I quickly install the spyware, my fingers flying over the keys, and within minutes, it's done. I disconnect the flash drive and tuck it back into my pocket, then grab her phone. My heart races as I unlock it. Years of marriage have given me her passcode, and she never changed it. I install the spyware on her phone as well, and then put everything back exactly as I found it. Just as I'm about to leave the room, I hear a noise behind me. I turn around to find Sarah standing in the doorway, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "What are you doing?" she asks, her voice suspicious. My mind races, searching for an excuse. "I was just grabbing something from my nightstand," I say, holding up a random book I've grabbed to sell the lie. "I've been meaning to read this." She narrows her eyes, but then her expression softens. "Okay," she says, though there's still a trace of doubt in her voice. You seemed distant, and I wanted to check on you." "I'm fine," I say, forcing a smile. "Really?" She nods, but I can see the uncertainty in her eyes. She doesn't completely believe me, and I can't blame her. I'm not the same man I was a few days ago. But I can't let her see that. Not yet. We head back downstairs, the tension between us thick enough to cut with a knife. I spend the rest of the day going through the motions, pretending everything is normal, while inside, I'm a storm of emotions, my mind racing with possibilities. That night, after Sarah goes to bed, I sit up in my office, waiting for the software to finish syncing. When it's done, I open the program and start sifting through her messages. It doesn't take long to find what I'm looking for. There are dozens of texts from an unknown number, the kind of messages you send when you think no one else is watching. My hands shake as I read them, the words blurring together in my rage. Unknown number, miss you. Sarah, miss you too. Can't wait until we can be together again. I feel like I'm going to be sick. This is the confirmation I needed, the proof that she's been lying to me, betraying me. But it's not just about the texts. I dig deeper, finding emails, call logs, even social media messages. The evidence is overwhelming, undeniable. I lean back in my chair, staring at the screen, my mind numb. I knew this was coming, but seeing it laid out in front of me like this, it's a different kind of pain. But I don't let it overwhelm me. Instead, I focus on the next steps. I need to gather everything, compile the evidence, and make sure there's no way she can talk her way out of this. As the night wears on, the plan becomes clearer. I'm going to expose her for what she is. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what she's done. And when it's over, she's going to lose everything. By the time I'm done, the sun is starting to rise. I shut down the computer and head to bed, sliding under the covers next to Sarah. She stirs slightly but doesn't wake up, and I'm grateful. I don't want to face her right now. As I lie there, staring at the ceiling, I know there's no going back. The game has begun, and I'm going to see it through to the end. No matter what it takes. The next few days are a blur of preparation. I go through the motions of life with Sarah, acting the part of the devoted husband while secretly plotting her downfall. The evidence I've gathered is damning: texts, emails, call logs, even a few candid photos taken by Bill's friend who works as a private investigator. It's more than enough to ruin her, both personally and professionally. But as I sit in my office, staring at the file I've compiled, a gnawing feeling of emptiness takes hold. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about understanding how the woman I loved could betray me so completely. I want answers, and I'm going to get them before I destroy her. The opportunity presents itself on a rainy Wednesday evening. Sarah is sitting on the couch, flipping through a magazine, while I'm pretending to watch TV. The air between us is thick with unspoken words. I can feel the tension radiating off her, and I know she's been wondering about my strange behavior. It's time to confront her. Sarah, I say, my voice cutting through the silence. She looks up, startled by the seriousness in my tone. Yes. We need to talk. She closes the magazine, setting it aside. About what? About us. I keep my eyes on her, watching every flicker of emotion on her face. About what's been going on. Her expression shifts, guarded and wary. What do you mean? I stand up, unable to sit still any longer. I start pacing, the anger I've kept bottled up threatening to spill over. I know, Sarah. I know about the affair. I know about everything. Her face drains of color, and she stands up, too, taking a step back. James, Don't, I snap, cutting her off. Don't lie to me. I've seen the texts, the emails. I've seen you with him. She covers her mouth with her hand, eyes wide, and for a moment, she looks like she might faint. But then something shifts in her, and she straightens, her eyes hardening. So, what now? Are you going to throw me out? Ruin me? Her sudden defiance catches me off guard. I expected tears, pleading, but this is different. I want to know why, I say, my voice trembling with the effort to stay calm. Why did you do it? She hesitates, then looks away, her eyes focusing on the rain splattering against the window. Does it really matter? It matters to me, I insist, stepping closer. I deserve to know why you betrayed me, why you threw away everything we had. She's silent for a long moment, and when she finally speaks, her voice is quiet, almost defeated. I don't have a good reason, James. I don't even know if there is one. I guess I felt trapped. Our life, our marriage, it wasn't what I wanted anymore. I feel like I've been punched in the gut. Trapped? You never said anything. We could have worked through it. Could we? She looks at me, her eyes sad. Could we really? Or would we have just kept going through the motions, pretending everything was fine while we drifted further apart? Her words sting because, deep down, I know there's some truth to them. But that doesn't excuse what she did. You should have talked to me, I say, my voice shaking. You should have given me the chance to fix things, not go behind my back and destroy everything. She nods, tears welling up in her eyes. I know. I'm sorry, James. I really am. But sorry doesn't change what I did. I stand there, the anger draining out of me, leaving only a hollow emptiness. There's nothing more to say. The marriage is over, the trust shattered beyond repair. I'm filing for divorce, I say, my voice flat. I've already spoken to a lawyer. Sarah's face crumples, and she sinks onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. I understand. For a moment, I feel a pang of sympathy for her, but it's quickly replaced by the cold reality of what she's done. I need to get out of here. I need to clear my head. I'm leaving, I say, heading for the door. I'll be back to get my things tomorrow. She doesn't look up, just nods, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I hesitate, part of me wanting to comfort her, but I force myself to walk away. This is her mess, and she has to live with the consequences. As I step outside, the rain has turned into a torrential downpour, soaking me instantly, but I don't care. I just need to get away, to think. I get into my car and start driving, not sure where I'm going, just letting the road take me. After driving aimlessly for what feels like hours, I find myself at a familiar place, the bar where Bill, Dan, and I used to hang out after work. It's quiet inside, the kind of place where you can lose yourself in a drink and forget the world for a while. I sit at the bar, ordering a whiskey, and take a long, burning sip. The alcohol dulls the edge of my anger, replacing it with a numbness that I welcome. I need to figure out what to do next. The divorce is inevitable, but there's still the matter of revenge. I have all the evidence I need to ruin Sarah, to make sure she never recovers from this. But as I sit there, nursing my drink, the reality of it all starts to sink in. What will revenge really accomplish? It won't undo the betrayal, won't take away the pain. It will just make everything uglier. I'm lost in thought when the door swings open, and a familiar face walks in. It's Dan, looking as haggard and tired as I feel. He spots me at the bar and makes his way over, sliding onto the stool next to me. "Hey," he says, ordering a beer. "I figured I'd find you here." "Yeah," I reply, staring into my glass. "Just needed to clear my head." He takes a sip of his beer, then glances at me. "So, how did it go?" "About as well as you'd expect," I say, giving him a brief rundown of the conversation with Sarah. He listens, nodding occasionally, but doesn't interrupt. When I'm finished, he sighs. "I'm sorry, man. I really am. But maybe it's for the best. A clean break, you know." "Yeah," I mutter, though the thought of leaving Sarah still twists my gut in knots. I just don't know if I should go through with the revenge. What's the point? Dan is quiet for a moment, then he leans in closer, lowering his voice. "Maybe there's something you should know before you make that decision." I frown, turning to look at him. "What are you talking about?" He hesitates, clearly struggling with something, then finally sighs. "Bill told me something, and I didn't want to believe it, but I think you should hear it." "What?" My pulse quickens, a new kind of dread creeping in. "Bill, he wasn't just helping you out of friendship," Dan says, his voice heavy. "He's the guy, James. The one Sarah was seeing." The words hit me like a sledgehammer. "What the hell are you talking about?" "I didn't want to believe it either," Dan continues, his expression pained. "But I overheard them talking the other day. Bill didn't think you'd go through with the investigation. He was just trying to keep you off the scent." My hands are trembling now, the shock mingling with a fresh wave of anger. "You're telling me Bill, my friend, was the one she was cheating with? And he pretended to help me?" Dan nods, guilt written all over his face. "I'm sorry, James. I should have told you sooner." I feel sick, the room spinning around me. Everything starts to make sense, the way Bill was always there, always pushing me to dig deeper, to find the truth. He was manipulating me, using me to cover his tracks. I stand up abruptly, knocking over my glass, but I don't care. I need to confront him. "James, wait," Dan starts, but I'm already heading for the door, my mind set on one thing: finding Bill and making him pay. I drive to Bill's apartment, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turn white. The betrayal cuts deeper now, the knife twisted by someone I trusted. It feels like my entire world is falling apart, and I'm determined to bring it all crashing down. I arrive at Bill's place and pound on the door, my anger barely contained. It takes a few moments, but eventually, Bill opens the door, his expression turning from surprise to apprehension when he sees the look on my face. "James, what's going on?" I don't let him finish. I shove him back into the apartment, slamming the door behind me. "You lying son of a bitch." Bill stumbles back, raising his hands defensively. Whoa. What the hell are you talking about?" "I know everything," I hiss, advancing on him. "I know you're the one Sarah's been seeing. You've been lying to me, pretending to help while you've been stabbing me in the back." His face pales, and for a moment, he looks like he might deny it, but then he just sighs, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "James. I'm sorry." "Sorry?" I laugh bitterly, the sound hollow and angry. "You're sorry? After everything you've done?" I never wanted it to go this far, he says, his voice low, regretful. It just happened. Just happened. I repeat, my voice shaking with fury. You destroyed my marriage, my life, and all you can say is it just happened. He doesn't respond, just looks down at the floor, unable to meet my gaze. I stand there, breathing heavily, the rage coursing through me, begging for release. But as much as I want to lash out, to hurt him the way he's hurt me, I realize something. It won't change anything. It won't make me feel better. I take a step back, the anger giving way to a crushing sadness. I trusted you, Bill. You were my friend. I know, he says quietly, finally looking up at me. And I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me. I nod slowly, the weight of the betrayal settling over me like a suffocating blanket. I'm done with both of you, I say, my voice cold and final. I never want to see either of you again. I turn and walk out the door, leaving Bill standing there, his expression one of resigned guilt. As I step outside into the cold night, the rain has started again, but I barely feel it. I'm numb, empty, and the only thing I can think of is getting as far away from this mess as possible. I get into my car and drive, not caring where I'm going, just needing to escape. The betrayal has shattered everything I thought I knew, leaving me with nothing but the broken pieces of a life that no longer exists. As I drive, the realization slowly sinks in, there's no going back. I've lost my wife, my best friend, and the life I once had. But maybe, in some twisted way, that's a good thing. Maybe it's the wake-up call I needed to start over, to rebuild something new, something better. The road stretches out before me, endless and uncertain, but for the first time in days, I feel a strange sense of peace. The storm has passed, and now, it's time to pick up the pieces and move on. As I disappear into the night, leaving the wreckage of my past behind, I know one thing for sure, I'll never let anyone betray me like that again.